Most people spend their entire lives being fooled, not by strangers, by the people closest to them, by colleagues they trust, partners they love, friends they have known for years. And the reason is not that people are malicious. The reason is that most people do not know how to look. They listen to words, and words are the least reliable thing about a human being. Carl Jung spent his life studying what people actually communicate versus what they believe they are communicating. And what he found was both unsettling and liberating. Every person, he said, carries a world within them that is completely invisible to the conscious mind, their own included. And it leaks. Constantly. Through behavior, through reaction, through the specific things that make them angry or quiet or suddenly unavailable. You already know how to read people. You have been doing it unconsciously since you were an infant. Before you had language, before you had concepts, you were reading faces and tones and silences with extraordinary precision. What this video will do is make that unconscious process conscious. 15 psychological truths. Not tricks, not manipulation tactics. Truths about how the human mind actually works, what behavior actually reveals, and why the person in front of you is always telling you exactly who they are. You just have to know where to look. This is not a quick list. This is a complete psychological framework built across 3 parts. Each part builds on the last. If you absorb all 3, you will never see people the same way again. Let's begin. Truth 1. What makes someone defensive is what controls them. This is the first and most important truth. When someone reacts with disproportionate emotion, when a comment lands too hard, when a question produces sudden coldness, when a topic generates an exit, that reaction is not about the comment or the question. It is about what the comment or question touched. Jung called these complexes, clusters of memory and emotion organized around a wound that has never been integrated. When something activates a complex, the reaction is not coming from the adult in front of you. It is coming from the part of them that was hurt at the time the wound was formed. So the next time someone overreacts, when the response is larger than the situation warrants, do not defend yourself. Get curious, because you have just been shown the map of their interior. The thing that made them defensive is the thing that controls them, and the thing that controls them is the thing they cannot see. Truth 2. What someone cannot tolerate in others is what they cannot accept in themselves. Jung called this projection, and it is one of the most reliable psychological mechanisms in human behavior. The person who cannot stop talking about other people's arrogance is almost always hiding a deep terror of their own insufficiency. The person who is obsessed with other people's dishonesty is almost always carrying a truth about themselves they have not faced. The person who finds another's confidence intolerable is almost always someone who was once punished for expressing their own. We do not hate randomly. We hate specifically. And the specificity reveals everything. So when someone shows you what they cannot tolerate, what makes them genuinely contemptuous rather than merely critical, you are being shown a precise map of their shadow, the part of themselves they exiled, the part they buried so deep they can no longer recognize it as their own. What they cannot stand in the room is what they cannot stand in themselves. Truth 3. The louder the claim, the bigger the doubt behind it. Pay close attention to absolute statements. The person who says, "I never need anyone," is the person who needs connection more than almost anything. The person who says, "I do not care what people think," is almost always the person most governed by others' opinions. The person who performs certainty in every room is almost always the person most terrified of being wrong. Exaggeration is volume, and volume is always trying to drown out something. When someone's statements are too absolute, too consistent, too practiced, do not believe the content. Hear what the exaggeration is trying to silence, because somewhere underneath the loudness is a doubt so large they have spent years building noise around it. Real certainty does not perform. It simply is. Truth 4. How someone treats weakness reveals everything about their inner war. This is one of the most reliable character tests available. You do not need to know someone for years. You only need to watch how they respond when someone is vulnerable in front of them. when someone cries, when someone admits they do not know, when someone fails. The person who responds with contempt is the person who was shown contempt when they were weak. The person who becomes cold and withdraws is the person who learned that vulnerability was dangerous. The person who immediately tries to fix rather than witness is the person who cannot tolerate their own pain. And the person who can simply be present with weakness, without judgment, without fixing, without retreat, is the person who has faced enough of their own interior darkness to no longer be threatened by anyone else's. You do not need a long conversation. Give someone a moment where compassion is the only option. What they do with that moment tells you who they are under all the rest of it. Truth. 5. What someone brags about is what they are most afraid of losing. Pride and fear live in the same house. When someone repeatedly returns to the same achievement, the same status signal, the same evidence of their worth, they are not sharing information. They are seeking reassurance. The repetition reveals the anxiety. If it were truly secure, it would not need to be mentioned again. The man who keeps telling you about his influence is terrified of losing it. The woman who keeps mentioning her independence is terrified of the vulnerability that genuine connection requires. The person who keeps returning to their intelligence is carrying a secret fear that they are not as sharp as they need to be. What someone defends most loudly is what they trust least in themselves. The brag is not confidence. It is a question dressed as a statement. If this content changes something in you, subscribe to this channel and like the video. Truth. 6. People do not lie to you first. They lie to themselves. This changes how you hear everything. When someone tells you a story that does not quite add up, when the timeline is inconsistent, when the emotions do not match the events, when the explanation is too smooth, it is almost never deliberate deception. It is self-deception. First, most thoroughly, and most completely. They have deceived themselves. And you are hearing the result of that long, private rehearsal. People do not maintain false stories about themselves because they are manipulative. They maintain them because the truth would require a reckoning they are not ready for. The story they tell you is the story that allows them to keep functioning, the story that keeps the wound from opening. So, when something does not add up, do not feel deceived. Feel curious, because the inconsistency is the truth trying to come through. The places where the story breaks are the places where the real person lives. Truth. 7. Silence is the most honest thing most people ever say. Words are managed. Silence is not. When someone goes quiet after a specific question, when they change the subject with practiced ease, when they give a short rehearsed answer to something that deserved a real one, the silence around the answer is louder than the answer itself. The topics someone will not touch, the questions they will not meet directly, the conversations that produce a sudden shift in energy, these are the borders of the territory they are protecting. And the territory they are protecting is always the territory that matters most. You do not need them to tell you where the wound is. Watch where they will not go. That is where it is. Truth. 8. The role someone plays in every relationship is the role they learned they had to play to survive. This is one of the most important and most compassionate truths in all of psychology. The person who always takes care of everyone and never asks for help did not choose that role. They learned that needing things was dangerous, or burdensome, or unwelcome. And so they made themselves useful instead of vulnerable. And they have been doing it ever since, in every friendship, every relationship, every team, because the body does not distinguish between then and now. The person who disappears when things get emotionally close did not choose emotional unavailability. They learned that closeness produced pain, and so they exit before the pain arrives, every time, without knowing they are doing it. Behavior is biography. What someone does repeatedly across different relationships and different contexts is not personality. It is survival strategy, and it was formed in conditions that no longer exist. When you can see that, when you can look at someone's most frustrating behavior and recognize it as an old answer to an old problem, you stop taking it personally, and you start seeing the person underneath it. Truth. 8. The role someone plays in every relationship is the role they learned they had to play to survive. This is one of the most important and most compassionate truths in all of psychology. The person who always takes care of everyone and never asks for help did not choose that role. They learned that needing things was dangerous or burdensome or unwelcome. And so they made themselves useful instead of vulnerable. And they have been doing it ever since, in every friendship, every relationship, every team, because the body does not distinguish between then and now. The person who disappears when things get emotionally close did not choose emotional unavailability. They learned that closeness produced pain, and so they exit before the pain arrives, every time, without knowing they are doing it. Behavior is biography. What someone does repeatedly across different relationships and different contexts is not personality. It is survival strategy, and it was formed in conditions that no longer exist. When you can see that, when you can look at someone's most frustrating behavior and recognize it as an old answer to an old problem, you stop taking it personally, and you start seeing the person underneath it. Truth 11. What someone finds most threatening is what they most secretly believe about themselves. This is the cruelest and most useful truth. When criticism lands, when a comment produces genuine wound rather than mere irritation, it is not because the comment was particularly powerful. It is because it landed on something that was already there, a belief about themselves they have been carrying, quietly and painfully, that the comment confirmed. If someone is devastated by being called stupid, they already believe, somewhere they will not look directly, that they might be. If someone is destroyed by being called selfish, they already carry the secret fear that perhaps they are. If someone cannot recover from being called a failure, it is because failure was the verdict they were already quietly giving themselves. External criticism only has power over the wounds we have not yet examined. The person who has looked clearly at their own limitations is not undone by someone else naming them. What wounds you most precisely is what you believe most secretly. Truth 12. How someone speaks about their past reveals whether they have made peace with it. Listen, not just to what happened. Listen to how they carry it. The person who tells their painful story with genuine settled reflection has integrated it. It is part of them, but it does not run them. The person who tells their painful story with fresh anger, the same tone every time, the same bitterness, the same blame, no matter how long ago it was, is still living inside it. The past is not behind them. They are inside it. And the person who cannot speak about certain parts of their past at all, who changes subject, who becomes suddenly quiet, who says simply that it was fine and moves on, is carrying something that has never been opened. You do not need to know what happened. You only need to hear how they speak about it. The relationship between a person and their own history tells you almost everything about what their future will look like. Truth 13. What someone celebrates in others is what they most want permission to become. This is the gentler version of envy, and the more hopeful one. When someone admires something in another person with genuine warmth, not envy, but real admiration, they are showing you the direction of their own unlived life, the part of themselves they have not yet given themselves permission to develop, the identity they want but have not yet claimed. The person who admires fearlessness in others wants to be less afraid. The person who celebrates someone else's honesty is someone who has been living with too much performance. The person who genuinely praises another's creativity is almost always a creative person who was once told their creativity was not serious. Admiration is desire made visible, and desire is the self pointing towards its own direction. Truth 14. The version of themselves someone shows under pressure is the version that is actually in charge. Everyone is charming when things are easy. The real character lives in the difficult moment, when the plan changes unexpectedly, when they do not get what they expected, when someone challenges them in front of others, when things go wrong in a way they did not control. What arrives in those moments is not a departure from who they are. It is the clearest possible view of who they are. The composed surface was always a practiced performance. The pressure removes the practice and leaves the person. So before you decide who someone is, based on how they present themselves to the world, wait for a difficult moment. Wait for the moment when the performance becomes too expensive to maintain. What you see then is what you are actually dealing with. Truth. 15. Patterns are confessions. Listen long enough and people tell you everything. This is the final truth, and it contains all the others. No one can maintain a mask indefinitely across all contexts, across all moods, across all the varied pressures of a real life being lived. The mask slips. It always slips. And when it does, what you see is not an exception. It is the rule. A person who ghosts when connection becomes real has shown you how they will always handle intimacy. A person who becomes cruel when they are scared has shown you what fear does to them. A person who takes credit for shared work has shown you how they think about other people when there is something to gain. One incident might be an exception. A pattern is a confession. And the deepest truth, the one that makes all 15 of these truths worth something, is that you are not immune to any of this. Your patterns are confessions too. Your defensiveness, your projections, your exaggerations, they are all pointing somewhere real. This is not a video about how to see through other people so you can feel superior to them. It is a video about how to see through other people so you can see through yourself. So you can recognize the mask you wear, the wound you protect, the old survival strategy you are still running in a world that no longer requires it. Jung did not want us to read people. He wanted us to awaken, to understand that everything we see in others is something we carry, that everyone we judge is a mirror, that the most powerful version of this skill is not the ability to decode other people, it is the ability to finally, clearly, honestly decode yourself. Drop in the comments which truth hit you hardest. Not the one that made you think about someone else, the one that made you think about yourself. That is where the real work begins. And if this video opened something in you, if you felt seen somewhere in these 15 truths, then you already know what comes next is worth staying for. Because we are just getting started.